if I was going to give advice, the one thing I would say is the first thing you need to find is what are you passionate about? Because if you're passionate about what you do, it's not work anymore. And if you're passionate about it, doesn't matter what you're paid, you're going to be successful. I think what you really have to do is find that passion, and what came out was that passion, and so I continue to push myself and to better myself, and then eventually took over the company in 1991, and I actually came out of college. I was only 19 because I did this 2-year program and I went in early. And I'm similar to Pastor Dave. I grew up my mother raised me and my brother. And so she died when I was 16 and I was in England in school. And I had to come back to the States because my father, who I didn't really know, he left when I was 3. Wouldn't continue to pay for my education in the UK. And so I had to make a choice. And that choice was, okay, what do I like? What am I good at? What are my opportunities in the Bahamas, ultimately where I want to come back to? And so that's what happened. I had to make a decision. I was on the hot seat, and I went into this literally saying, okay, I'm good at art. I love the sciences. This landscape thing is an interesting opportunity. It's a growing industry. And so I went to this technical school and then just, and powered through from there. So I think, if I was going to give advice, the one thing I would say is the first thing you need to find is what are you passionate about? Because if you're passionate about what you do, it's not work anymore. And if you're passionate about it, doesn't matter what you're paid, you're going to be successful, right? Because if you can, you're going to be thinking about these things when everybody else is bored to tears doing their job. You're still thinking about these things. How can I do this better? How can I get to the next level? How can I improve our productivity? How can I improve our quality? Where can I find more people to expand from? And so the one thing I would tell you is don't worry about, they say the turtle in the hare, right? Trying to make, get ahead and make success and do all these things. And, focus on what you're passionate about first, find that passion. And then you will naturally rise to the top, right? And I did that very early because I was exceedingly passionate. And I'd tell people, you might be able to outsmart me, but you won't outwork me.
There you go. I like that.
Good morning, Mr. Myers. Shamal Lewis from the Great Bahamas State Institute. What is one goal/accolade you have established that would help affect the future generation of the Bahamas?
Well, I've held a number of positions, and I think, again, that comes from my history, and that being that I'm also, like Dr. Dave, very non-traditional. I didn't grow up on Easton Road or Lyford Key. I started an industry that not many people at that time probably wanted to get into, right? Because I love digging in the dirt.
Most people
right?
don't even this time.
No, and I like plants and bush and dirt and construction, and I like the creation of those things, and I like to see the end result of the fruits of our labor, because it's not me anymore out there, but it used to be me in a truck, in a loader, in a machine, and I'm still there. I literally came off the project we're doing out in Adelaide, an hour and a half ago, and I was out there, directing and running machinery,
Love it, yeah.
because that's what I'm passionate about. So even at age 60, there's no stopping. But I would tell you the same thing is that, what you got to look at is just rising up through that. So to answer your question, I think the biggest thing for me is that transfer of knowledge and information. The largest and most successful aspect of my career was the understanding that it was great if I knew it, but I would not get any expansion or growth if I was the only person that knew it. So I would not, if it weren't for the people and the programs and the systems and the training that we did within the company, all written by me and adopted by me, we couldn't be, when I started, we were doing, I think it was around $580,000 of landscaping a year, annually. By the time I was 25, we were, 28, we were doing about $1 million a month. Now we're doing about 26 to 28 million a year, right, in revenues. And that's because you got to have people, and those people have to be as passionate as you, as knowledgeable as you, as motivated as you. And that's our biggest drive. Our biggest goal now is how do we train and attract people with that, that work ethic and skill. So I think education is a huge component of mine, and something that we've focused on, an awful lot. That's come out, and also the fact that I've been involved in the Chamber of Commerce, the Landscape Association, Organization Responsible Governance, right? Mm-hmm. All of these things are about how do we not just move our particular businesses forward, but how do we also move the country forward? Yeah. Because equally, I would not be successful without the incredible group of people working with me. Mm-hmm. I cannot be successful if the country fails, right? So I put a lot of time into making sure that also the country is going to be robust, and working with politicians on both sides, working with NGOs, working with, even today, just making sure that, will we actually, how do we actually succeed? How do we grow as a nation? Mm-hmm. You can't just think of yourself, right? You have to think more broadly, mm-hmm. because we are only one organism in a very complex chain of organisms. Absolutely. Right?
That's
Devon Johnson of the Royal Balance Defense Force Rangers. Can you share more about your role as the chairman of the Bahamian Contractors Association and how you were instrumental in redrafting the Construction Contracting Act? What impact did you have in the industry? Did this happen in the industry?
So I entered in the construction, capstone construction. We started in 2001, and I was actually a member of the construction, the BCA. Prior to that as a sub-trade. So sub-trades were a category within, and I became a member of the board, mm-hmm. and then got into construction some period later, and then was elected chairman of the BCA. And so I'd worked on the Construction Contracting Act, and I actually had some very strenuous and tentative conversations with some of the larger contractors in the country. Mm-hmm. And those were specifically because we had different ideas and ideals in terms of what the outcome was. And so when I rewrote, and I did rewrite that act to make it one that was more about the consumer and less about the contractor. Okay. And the difference being, and my argument was, my debate was at the time, was that two things. One is, if you don't write an act that allows a clear path for somebody coming out of high school to become a contractor, you failed. And it did not. So that was number one. Number two was, if you write an act, and this is what was predominantly missing when I read the act when I was on the board, and how I helped to change and adopt that act. Number two was, if that act isn't about the end user of the output, and rather about the contractor, you failed, right? Because what do we do as contractors? We provide value, right? We provide value in building a building like this at a quality and standard that the consumer is going to benefit from. And the consumer is the one that we need to protect, right? It can't be about protecting us. It has to be about, and parts of it can be about protecting us to make sure the consumer pays us. Are there lien laws? Are there, but fundamentally, it has to have a path for, succession, right? And it has to have a value to the end user. So that was how, I shaped the Construction Contracting Act, which then, got adopted, I think it was a few years ago. It still has not actually been completely ratified. It needs the Construction Contracting Board, and we've asked successive governments to put that in place. It still has not happened. It's very, very frustrating because, there's a tremendous amount of waste that happens because these mechanisms aren't in place. And so at this point in time, anybody can become a contractor for better or for worse. And unfortunately, I see, huge horror stories, and it really breaks my heart when single mothers are trying to put food on the table, get their kids through, some level of education, and put a roof over their kids and their family's head, and the contractor, steals their hope and their future. So they're now renting, they've got a mortgage, the contractor's failed, the roof is bowing, and I just sit there and think, oh my gosh, and it's every day.
It is.
Morning again, Christian Lavoie of Blake Academy. What major obstacle have you encountered while it's on your journey to success?
Oh, so many. Oh my God. Yeah, I think, the biggest is the biggest obstacle was that what I just previously said, which was understanding, and this is a mental thing, right? Because I hear so many people, man, I can't do that, man. I can't get there.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at that and saying, well, how am I going to grow this business, right? I mean, like I said to you earlier, it's not what I can do, it's what we can do, right? And so you have to get your head out of that system, where the problem, and the government this, and the education, and the people, the lousy, and okay, great. But those are the issues before you. So you got to meet those issues before you. If it's lousy people, it's not because they're lousy people. They just haven't had the opportunity. They haven't been given the tools, including mental tools, to learn, or to learn properly. And this is, one of the things under the Chamber of Commerce that, and org, the Organization of Responsible Governance, one of the key pillars there is education. And it's not, we don't need more MBAs. We need more tile layers, mechanics. We need more technicians.
And it's good money there.
I am proof of that, right? I came through a 2-year, I don't have a fancy degree. Okay, I just have a passion
Strong work ethics.
and a strong work ethic, and so I think that for me the big one was getting out of that old mentality of sucking my teeth and going, man, these people, this, that, and blaming other things, when actually the answers were here. And the answers were, okay, well that is, and that epiphany was when I was like, okay, but so that's the problem, so fix it. Right? So anytime you confront these challenges, stop, pause, think, identify the problem, find the solution, otherwise you are the problem. Stop blaming somebody else, something else, and start acting, right? Start thinking about what that change needs to be and make it happen. Don't sit there and stew over it, make it happen. And if it needs to change and you're wrong and you got to correct it, make that happen. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try and fail. Okay? Brush yourself off. And as Dr. Dave said, take that as your cost of education. Right? So learn from that mistake and don't make it again. Because otherwise you're a fool. Right? So learn from that and move forward. Right? And that's I think where you asked, the biggest challenge was actually me getting over myself.
There you go. No, I'm telling you, guys, you have to understand that I met Myers a few years back, and I heard of his ethics, but it's a complete difference when you meet the person and have a conversation, see what they're about. And it was firstly about good governance for the country. Next thing on the agenda was what I was as a man in terms of what was my moral compass, and what was the plan to help people to be better and stronger? Quite simple. What's the plan? How it's going to work? I'm looking to help people to be lazy, to be in a state of mind where they don't want to do it for themselves, because he is truly big on empowerment, because you can't take this with you. I only can imagine how hard it was to transform and make the landscaping industry something of value in our country.
Yeah.
For some reason, we are fixed that it's a dirty man's job, not knowing the value in doing it.
And by the way, it is. It's a hot, sweaty, dirty job. But you either like it or you don't like it.
Yeah, but
And I like it.
but it's very lucrative.
You had a lot of people looking down at me that don't look down at me
Of
anymore.
course not.
Right? Because your success comes because you're diligent and you just continue to plow and don't. And this is an early age. The other thing I recognized early was you cannot get distracted by the noise in the market. What do I? Yeah, do not get distracted by the noise in the market. Okay? And what if any of I heard you are Royal Bahamas Defense Force, okay? I'm going to put it in an analogy. And this was an analogy I used probably 30 years ago with my people, right? Because, why are you in that business and all this noise, right? And I said, so when you set off in a boat, right? And I don't care what kind of boat, each boat has its challenges, sailboat, motorboat, broke down boat, whatever it is, you are setting off to go somewhere in that boat, right? And your preparation, your thought, and your desire to get to where you need to go are what's going to get you there. Because there are going to be rough seas, there are going to be storms, you are going to get knocked off course, but you've got to stay focused on getting to that point. If you don't, you will perish, right? So don't get distracted by the noise in the market, because that's going to happen every day. Every day somebody's going to, and don't care what it could be, you've got trouble with your family, you got trouble with your spouse. Understand, and by the way, also understanding that vision early is critical, because I did not want to make the mistakes of my father, right? I did not want to create another broken household. You don't want to be part of the problem. You want to be part of the solution, right? It really hurt me that I didn't have a father, and I had to dig deep to find those things, right? And I know that, right? And so I knew when I picked a spouse that had better be somebody that had a very, very similar vision to me, and it took me a long time. And it didn't matter that it took me a long time. I was not going to settle. I was not going to deal with the noise in the market, right? So every decision, these are big decisions in your life. Don't settle for anything less than what you want in your life and how you want to build that life and have a vision for that life. Sit down quietly when you have that time and think about what that is, right? And be serious about what that is. And then set yourself on that goal. And if it needs to change, it needs to change, but keep your eye on the objective. Keep your eye on where it is you want to be in your life. And I guarantee you, turtle in the hair, right? Don't try and race there, because it's not about getting there quickly. It's about getting there, right? And do yourself that favor and identify those passions, identify those visions, identify those goals, and don't listen to the noise in the market. If you want to be a landscaper, be the best dang landscaper you can be, right? If you want to be a musician, go for it, right? If you want to be a pilot, great, go for it. And you're not going to know, like I started as a landscaper, then I thought, okay, well, I need to grow this business because I need to have a family, I need to have more income, and all these things go on. Then you got to solve that challenge. You're not going to know them all now, but at least know, what you think your trajectory is going to be.
Yeah, and on that note, I want you to understand kings to come. As you grow and get towards your goal, there are people that are coming into your life who truly wants to help you to be better, to help you not to go through the pitfall they've gone through. So when that happens, you have to be open to, one, that kind of counsel, appreciate people who have giving you that type of time to help you to be better, and simply understand that you're a responsibility to yourself. Because Robert Myers here to my right has proven not only just being a great talker, because I can share something with you. When I was in the community helping persons in our community who are less fortunate, I would call him and say, I need help. And he says, you know what, if you need help with anything in the community, because for he and I, it's never for ourselves. It's about helping people from all different levels. So if I called him and said, listen, I have X amount of family that need X amount of things going on. We would meet somewhere on the side of the road. I'm sure people see us on the road, his car's on the side of the road, my car's behind him. We're taking stuff out of his car, put inside his car. They're probably saying he's getting put up his house, giving me items to put inside my car to help people in our community. So when I say to you that he has a track record from my experience with him of helping others who want to help themselves at all levels, but you have to want it and recognize that people is there to help you. And this is the reason why I saved him at the last, because he, for me, is a genuine success story in creating something that people thought was mediocre into an empire. And as you can see, he really hasn't changed from his core. He believes in helping people who wants to help themselves. We always talk about developing people in our companies, making sure, helping them even who are in your company for them to be better, helping their children to be educated too. It just goes on and on and on. So I am quite certain that even with this entry and the previous one, from day one, he has been a supporter, not only financially, but even in counseling about helping this program and other works we're doing in the country. So he is some of those people that you would meet that would never want his name to be called, never wanted to be filmed, but I had to twist his arm, leg, and everything. I need you to be seen and to be heard because I cannot articulate his passion as to what it is for self-development and to be serious about, being responsible as a man. There is a big difference from male and man. I've all heard again from the pastor. And you have to take it seriously. And hopefully one day that all of you break the cycle that he has gone through, I have gone through, about being that man in the house who has a father, who has a great wife, who has the opportunity to lead others, influence other people in their lives. So, Robin Myers, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here. I'm sure all of them appreciate you too. And with that, we end, and we look forward to seeing you at our closing ceremony.
Yes, sir. That sounds good.
Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks.